if you're in real estate or if you're an entrepreneur, you're growing a business, you're building something, you're trying to impact people, you have a mission to serve, whatever it is, if you're not out there creating content, in 2024, you are, dare I say, irrelevant, or you're at least at a very serious disadvantage right now, because that is the social capital. That is how people perceive in today's day and age who you are.
Hey guys, welcome in. I'm your host, Matt Fagioli. We are so excited to be here for this latest episode. Every guest is my favorite guest, but Eric Thayne is my favorite video guest and become a good friend. And I know you guys are going to be excited to hear everything that he's going to share with you about all things video, but short form video is going to be what we talk about the most, I think, today. So let's welcome Eric Thayne.
Hey man, how's it going? I'm the favorite of the favorites, right?
You are. That's right. You're the favorite. You're the favorite of the guys.
I just wanted to make sure.
I probably have prettier favorites, but you're up there. So anyway, welcome. And guys, I want Eric to introduce himself and explain some more. But Eric has, just blown up his business using organic video and short form video in particular, and of course has a deep video background in videography. And so Eric, will you explain that way better than I did, a little bit deeper, and tell everybody who you are?
Yeah, so I am a creative / entrepreneur at heart. I've been doing entrepreneurial and creative stuff since I was a kid. And for me, it was always like this mixture of like, how do I do what I love to do in the creative realm? And then how do I make money doing it as an entrepreneur? And so that's taken various forms throughout my life. I went into music production. I was a performing pianist for a while. I was a graphic designer, a web developer, started a video production agency, got into internet marketing, started selling courses. I built a community for filmmakers called Cinema Mastery that reached 15,000 filmmakers in 100 countries around the world. And so like the combination of all of those things, internet marketing, social media, content, video creation, creativity, personal development, like all of that, I guess that just kind of encompasses who I am, right? I've been through a whole journey of like figuring that out for myself and like how to create content and build my own personal brand. And nowadays, just like working really hard on helping people with all of those things. So helping people to like discover what their real passion is, like what it is that they want to do, what they want to help people with, what they can grow with. And to me, that's figuring out your personal brand. And then it's how do you create content around that so that it's aligned with you, so that people follow you, that they resonate with you, build a following, build engagement online, like in a true, authentic way. Okay, a lot of the things that people are teaching out there are just very like mass produced, like try to make it happen. But this is like in a real way. And then lastly, of course, how do you monetize that? How do you then, use that organic traffic to build your business, to grow your offers, to get more people in the door, get more leads, more sales, more income, and ultimately just a better lifestyle and everything above. So that's what I'm all about right now.
Cool. Well, when I met you, I met you by seeing you on a stage for the first time at a very big conference where you explained what had happened in the previous year, where you jumped in and started pushing hard on a daily basis on short form video over a long period of time. Can you tell that story a little bit?
Yeah. So my business, that I started about 8 years ago when I first got into the online world and internet marketing and social media and stuff, it was entirely built on Facebook ads. So, if any of you guys are out there and you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, I'm running ads right now, or I'm doing like, the typical methods for outreach or advertising or whatever to try and bring in leads. You understand like how, that can be very lucrative. It can work really well. Like we did multiple 7 figures with that strategy, but it also is like kind of a really stressful thing because you're constantly managing margins and making sure that like, keeping your ad costs low and your CPC and your SAR and all these numbers and everything like that. And, we were really successful with that for a long time, quite a few years, and just running it and making it happen. And I remember going to like conferences and stuff, and people were like, you need to create content every day. You need to be making videos online. You need to be, using organic traffic, right? Organic media to grow your business, because if all your eggs are in one basket with Facebook ads, for example, and something happens to Facebook, then like you're going to be in trouble. And so I remember hearing that over and over and over again and just thinking like, yeah, I know I need to do that. I need to create content. But then like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it consistently. I don't know what it is about it. And I'm a filmmaker. I'm a content creator. Like, I work with people nowadays and try to help them do this. And one of the biggest things that holds them back is like, how do I get the microphone and the camera and like all that kind of stuff? set up. For me, like that was second nature for me. So like I didn't even have that struggle. It was something about like creating content consistently, especially with something that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy and effort, was just really hard to do when you could just go plug $1 into Facebook ads and get leads like that, you know? And so I kind of ignored all my mentors and just never was consistent about it until like things actually did go bad in the Facebook ads industry. And like, you know, over time, costs have gone up, you know, little by little. And then it was, you know, 2 or 3 years ago when there was a whole battle between Facebook and Apple with the notifications that Apple's putting on their screen. I don't need to go into depth into that, but if you're familiar with it, that's what happened. You started getting these notifications on your phone that was like, do you want to allow this app to track you? And suddenly Apple cut off Facebook's ability to track people and therefore to run ads to them, therefore to know about them, know enough about them in order to serve ads to them. And it cut their inventory in half as far as like who they could send ads to. Ad costs skyrocketed. Facebook lost like $12 billion, billion with a B, because of that change. And again, like I said, if your business is built entirely on Facebook ads and Facebook goes under, well, you go under with it, right? And it was bad. My business basically crashed into the ground. The costs got so high. I mean, I was spending as much as $3,000 just to get on the phone with somebody, which is just like ridiculous. And so like I knew that I couldn't keep this going. There was no way that this was going to be sustainable long term. And so I just started trying to figure out what to do. And it was around Christmas time that year. I remember that was like the most miserable Christmas ever. I was just like overworked, wasn't able to like spend time with my kids or my family or like anything like that. And I remember just thinking like, man, this is not, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is not what I signed up to being an entrepreneur for. And so I had to make a change, and I explored a bunch of different options trying to figure out what to do. And I ultimately made the decision. I said, look, I'm going to completely shut off my Facebook ads. I'm just going to go cold turkey. Right? Like I tried the, you know, little by little or try different things. I was like, I just got to just make a drastic change. No more Facebook ads. I turned them off entirely, cut off my entire source of business that was keeping me and my family and my team, my employees all alive, and just said like, we're done with this. And I went all in on making short videos on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts every single day. And that was the strategy. I was like, I have to make this work. I've been told this for years and years, that I need to do this. Now I'm being forced to do it because I didn't listen, right? And so I actually started doing it, started making the videos. You know, the first videos weren't very good. I was making, you know, wake up every morning, shoot a video, edit it, post it online. Wake up the next morning, shoot, edit, post, and just like trying to make it happen. But I was like, I have to do this. Videos weren't very good. I was just trying to figure it out. And for me as a filmmaker, like I care about making things look nice, right? And I had to like just let go of that for a minute because the number one goal was I have to be consistent with this. I've got to do it every single day. So I started making videos every single day. For the first 2 months of doing that, I actually lost followers every day. And so imagine like switching strategies like this, like complete pivot. You go into something that you're like, okay, this isn't working. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to go into a new thing. You go in, and for the first 2 months, it's like not working, right? And I think a lot of people would have given up, but I was like so desperate that I was like, I have to figure this out. And so I kept iterating. I kept watching, you know, this video worked, this one didn't. I got to do more of that and like figuring it out and just testing all these things. And so the first 2 months I was losing followers. The second 2 months it like went flat. So I was like actually net zero, gaining and losing the same number of followers every day. And then it was sometime right around the middle of month 5 when it just skyrocketed. And I went from literally gaining 0 followers a day to within like a matter of a week to gaining hundreds of followers a day. And then like within a month, I was up to gaining over 1,000 followers a day, just watching my account just grow so fast. And, you know, it's amazing what happened. And like the gain, the followers and the engagement and everything all increased and all that kind of stuff. But then even better than that is like my business started taking off because, you know, if you're smart about how you move people from your content into your offers and your email list and all that kind of stuff, you can actually turn your followers into dollars, right? And so that started taking off. I started getting invited to big podcasts and to speak on stages and all this stuff that like never happened before. I was on stage, you know, you mentioned this earlier, but like a few months ago, I was on stage in front of 5,000 people at one of the biggest marketing conferences in the world at literally the largest conference center in North America. And all of this just because of the content. It's not that this is the crazy thing to me. It's not that I got smarter. It's not that I got like my content got better, really. It's not that I became more interesting. It's just that, my voice actually was getting out there. And I think there's a lot of people in the world right now who are successful, who have done things, who have the receipts, who have the stories, who have built things, who are doing really amazing things, but like they're not visible because they're not out there creating content. And then you've got people who are half as smart as you, who are getting 10 times or influencing 10 times as many people because they're actually out there creating content. And so, for me, it just really showed me like the power of content creation and how anybody who's trying to build something in the world, anything, like if you're in real estate or if you're an entrepreneur, you're growing a business, you're building something, you're trying to impact people, you have a mission to serve, whatever it is, like if you're not out there creating content in 2024, you are, dare I say, irrelevant, right? You're at least at a very serious disadvantage right now, because that is the social capital, right? That is how people perceive in today's day and age who you are. And for better or for worse, that's how people know. They look at your follower count, they look at your content. That's how they know who you are, not through these other means that we're used to. And so I just think it's a really important thing, not just for, entrepreneurs and real estate agents and anybody to like really build their personal brand online, but like it's something that anybody can do. And because anybody can do it, obviously there's more competition in the space, but it's also the reason why it's so much more important for you to be doing it right now. Because if you're not, somebody else, again, like I said, who's half as smart as you or half as good or half as talented is out there actually stealing all your business because they're creating all the content, right?
Well, I think that's awesome. I think when you talk to agents and brokers, which I've been one for 20 years, they all want to get out and tell the world about their specific niche in real estate, more so than most other humans that you would meet. Like the general consensus of real estate agents is, I want to be visible. And I always think of it in levels, right? Like level one is just have good content so that when someone does meet you and they go look at who you are, they're like, this is who this person is. And then, however many levels there are to reach the Eric Thayne level of thousands of people, every week, every month, whatever, are coming and finding me organically. And when they find me, they like what I'm saying. And I guess I want to get to your strategy for personal branding, which I just totally fallen in love with. And in the sense that if you're going to be a real estate agent, you're going to be one for 10 years or 20 years, that brand that you built over that time, is the ultimate goal. And I think your vision for that is phenomenal. Could you talk a little bit about kind of that long-term plan?
Yeah. So we definitely live in like the age of the personal brand. And I call this the age of the creator. Some people call it like, it's like the creator economy, right? And what that means, you might hear those words and be like, well, what does that actually mean? What that means is that the systems and the processes for like getting attention and distribution are being democratized to where like musicians, for example, don't need to go through a distributor or a record label in order to get their music out there. They can actually go build their own following, and then they can be successful as a musician, right? For example, real estate agents, the same thing. It's like, can you figure out how to build your own personal brand so that now leads are coming to you? Now you're working with people, like it makes it so much easier. And more than ever, people want to do business with people, not with businesses. And this is the big mistake that a lot of people make, and a lot of, old school traditional businesses, is that they're showing up as a business online, as a like even a real estate agent. Like if you get on there and you're only talking about like, this house is for sale, or I work in this area, or like whatever, and it's just constantly promoting, you're like, it's a personal brand, right? Because it's my name, but then you're just always promoting your business. What happens is that you're actually creating this barrier between you and your audience being able to connect with you. And that's what social media is all about, is building connection with people. And so your personal brand, what I always teach is that your brand is you. Okay. So it's you and your unique combination of skills, talents, abilities, morals, beliefs, values, passions, interests, like everything about you that makes you you, that literally nobody else on this planet can compete with. Right. So you're completely unique in that sense, that you have a unique combination of those things. And so if that makes you unique and completely eliminates all your competitors, why wouldn't you lean into that best thing about you? Right. And so instead of just promoting your business all the time, instead of just talking about like what you have for sale or whatever, lean into building a personal brand online. It means talking about like a lot of the things that interest you. If you're, for example, if you're a real estate agent, like yes, most of your content probably is going to be about the real estate, right? The thing that you do, and you're going to be talking about that. But when you bring in some of your family life into it a little bit, or you bring in a little bit of maybe another passion that you have, or like use these stories to tell in your content, what you do is you not only reach people and bring them into your world, but then you actually build connection with them. And everybody knows that in business, if you want to be successful, it's know, like, and trust, right? In order for somebody to buy from you, to want to do business with you, to work with your services, like whatever it is, they have to reach that level of know, like, and trust. You take somebody from being a stranger, not knowing anything about you, to just hearing your name, and then like over probably months in most cases, or maybe weeks, then and ultimately buying from you, right? And so that's that process that you create by creating really valuable connection-based content every single day. And every day you're tightening that connection with them a little bit. You're building that know, like, and trust. And when you do that consistently, it compounds over time. The people that started watching you a year ago are buying now. The people that started watching you 6 months ago are buying from you in 6 months, right? And then it builds and it grows exponentially. And now you've got this mass of people that anytime you have an offer, anytime you have something you're selling, you have a house go for sale, whatever it is, you start talking about that and you get a flood of buyers. So the crazy thing about, my business right now is that, like I said, my business was entirely built on Facebook ads, and somewhere in the realm of 40 to 50% of our revenue every month would go into ads. That, like, we're doing 7 figures a year, but then like half of it is getting spent on ads. And that's just the nature of like a business that's run on ads, where it's just constantly watching those margins to try and make it work. It's a volume game. And 2 years ago, I shut off all my ads. I am happy to report that I've been ad free for 2 years. No, so like I literally haven't touched Facebook ads in 2 years. And that's not because I think there's anything wrong with ads. Like, it's a good way to scale and everything like that. I have intended to, like, hey, at some point, we're gonna start the ads back up again. I just haven't needed to. The business growth has been insane. And so I'm actually this year, so this year will be my third year of like creating content consistently. We will do our highest revenue year ever, even, compared to before when we were running ads, but with no ad spend. So imagine getting like 40% of your revenue back. That's amazing. The last 2 years, I've been making lower revenue numbers, yet for some reason, not for some reason, but I've been actually taking home more money, right? Because there's not that big chunk of, money going into ads every single month. And so it's like, yes, it's less revenue, but like the profit margins are way bigger when you're using organic media to grow. And so that's kind of like, what I've been working on. We just did a launch recently, and like just the stuff that's happening this year, like my first year of creating content, we did about like 300K in revenue, just completely from organic media. The second year, 600K in revenue. This year we'll do well over $1 million. And that's all from organic traffic, completely 100% just from building a personal brand online, talking about it, sharing my products, and making it happen. So our business is actually doubling every single year. And that's what happens when you focus on this. And the thing is, like, we're 2 years into this. That's not a long time. A lot of people think like, I got to go, spend 10 years building my personal brand, and it's slow and it takes time and it's effort. And yeah, does it take time and take effort? Yes. But man, the benefits are absolutely 100% worth any effort that goes into it. And like I said, if you're operating in 2024 and you're trying to build something right now and you're not consistently focused on this, on producing content every day and doing that, committing for the long term for this, you're probably falling behind, honestly. People out there who are doing it, who are eating your lunch, to put it casually, right?
I mean, I think for sure you either have one or both arms tied behind your back. If you're saying like, hey, can you be successful? Maybe, but if you can focus on the consistency over that period of time, that's what's so incredible. Your whole story, Eric, is, telling the story about how you went however many months before getting a negative result before you even saw any rise, and then understanding that it's a year in, it's 18 months in, it's 2 years in where you really start to see the lift. And, getting 99% of people to look at even that much timeline is just what's so hard. So I hope that's our message to agents and brokers who are hearing this conversation is like, while you're, you're doing your thing today and trying to close a deal this month, but, some portion of your bandwidth has to be dedicated to this long-term content effort.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's gotta be something like I said, I mean, you're becoming irrelevant, right? It's like, this is the way that the world operates today. This is it's not a fad. It's not a trend. Like the trend, it's a trend, sure, but the trend line is going up, right? The creator economy is just getting bigger and bigger every year. And the opportunity that's out there right now is huge. It's not a last year thing. This is not a 2 years ago thing. This is something that most of the world, frankly, like hasn't even woken up to yet. Like you see a lot of internet marketers and agents and entrepreneurs and stuff like creating content. We're used to that. But like when I go talk to my friends who are not entrepreneurs or not whatever, like they don't even know that this world exists yet. Or they're not even aware of like how they're influenced by it. How like their buying decisions are actually being influenced by people that they follow online. And it's such a huge industry that's just getting bigger and bigger. And we're on the up and up with it. And so this is something that, you haven't missed the boat. Like now is the time, like invest in just every day doing a little bit to build your personal brand online, gain attention for you and the things that you love and the things that you do. And it doesn't have to be that hard. I've got like frameworks and stuff that I teach that make it trivial, really. Right? Has it been for you, Matt? Like it's just like, here's the framework. Just do this every single day, make this happen, or batch your content this way. And if you do it consistently, like it happens, the results come. Like it's just like an automatic, like reach people, build connection, monetize that following. And you just go through that cycle over and over and over again. And it just works.
Well, and it's funny. It is easy. You make it a lot easier, but it is hard and it's going to be hard. And it takes that, like you just alluded to it. I went through an Eric's training program recently with 50 other people. And there were things about it that might have been easier for me because I've shot a lot of video and I like to hear the sound of my own voice and a lot of people don't. And, there were things that I think maybe made it easier for me a little bit, but it's still incredibly hard and you're going to make mistakes. And I went through the painful exercise with Eric not that many days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, where he got to critique, thank God it was private. He got to critique like some of my videos that I had shot back to me. And I was like, I feel like a complete idiot. I did this wrong. But you have to show up and like do it, right? And like break through.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we've told everybody, we've explained to them, I think pretty powerfully why they should. So if you're listening to this and you're an agent or a broker, what do I do? What's next?
Yeah. So one of the basic frameworks that I teach that I think is the most important for people to understand is because people go like, what type of content should I create? What should I talk about? Like that's the first question is like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go make content, but like, now what do I do? What do I talk about? And basically like I look at content in 3 buckets. And you need to have your content in all 3 buckets in order for it to be successful, because one of the biggest mistakes that people will make is that they'll go and they'll only create content in one of these buckets and it only serves one purpose. So there's 3 things that you want your content to do. Number 1 is you want it to attract new people. You want it to reach people. Number 2 is you want it to build connection. And number 3 is that you want it to turn into leads and sales, right? And so it's those 3 things that have to happen in that order, right? It's go out and reach people. It's build connection with them, build know, like, and trust. And then it's monetize them, right? And so the mistake that a lot of people will make is that they'll go and they'll create a lot of content that's just the reach type content, or like you're the top of your funnel, where it's just always that kind of content. And yeah, they get a lot of views and it goes viral and everything like that, but then they don't ever actually build a relationship with their audience. And so they're missing out on this mass of people. Like you'll go get 1 million people, but then a small percentage of them end up buying from you because you haven't done the work to like build the relationship with the rest of them. And so your reach type content, your top of funnel type content, these are your, they might be like funny videos. They're your viral type of videos. It's like quick tips and quick hacks. One of the things that we talked about on your call, you remember, is I was telling you, like, whenever you post something, think about how would somebody who doesn't know who I am perceive this, right? This is a really good hack for creating content that's going to reach more people. Because a lot of times we create stuff that's like, it makes sense to you and your friend, for example, on that one post, or your family or your inner circle or your people. But then like, we don't think about like, no, this post is going to go out on social media to people who don't know who I am at all.
That's the hope, that lots and lots of people that don't know you, that don't already follow you, that they're going to see this post. And that was a huge aha. I actually was going to bring it up next, so I'm glad you brought it up. But what Eric was referring to is I posted a picture of me and another guy, and I said something dumb, like some little caption that would make sense to all people that know me. But Eric looked at it and he was like, what was the point of this post? Like, what is this going to do for you? Anybody who doesn't know you is not going to know what this is or what you're talking about. And that was like a huge breakthrough for me, because I'm like, I think about the people that I think are following me. I'm not thinking about everybody else, which is a huge mistake. So
yeah.
So that's a big shift, is you gotta stop thinking about who you think is following you and start thinking about the whole world as your audience. If you want to reach them, right? So, because who you're speaking to is important. If you're only speaking to your small inner circle, like anybody outside of that is going to sense that, and they're going to feel like, I'm not part of the club, right? And so you mentioned that the hope is that it's going to reach other people, but the reality is it is going to reach those people. Like, that's the way that these algorithms work now, is that your content, anything you post, it's going out to a small selection of people who don't follow you every single time. And basically the algorithm is testing to see, like, how are people relating to this? Is it only their followers that like this, or is there a bigger piece of the pie? Are there more people we can show this to? And so you want to make sure that you're hitting that. And so with your top of funnel content, that's thinking about, like, what's the type of content that I could do that's funny, that's relatable, that's aspirational, that's tips and tricks, that's whatever, that's the type of stuff that like anybody could see and go like, that was cool, that was valuable, let me share that with a friend, or let me or do whatever. Now, there's a lot of different work that can go into like creating viral type content that gets shared, but that's your top funnel content. That's the content that is designed to get views. Okay, so your goal there, your 100% your goal is to get reach and views, is get as many people to watch it as possible. Now, where people make a mistake is that they might only focus on that type of content. Because we are entrepreneurs, or we're entrepreneurial, we think in terms of ROI, and we go, okay, I put this much effort into this video and it got a lot of views. If you put the same amount of effort into another video and it gets less views, then we go, slap on the wrist, that was bad, don't do that again. But the reality is that might not be the case. So now we're talking about your middle of funnel type content, which is where your relationship building, your connection with your audience. This is when you start sharing personal stories. You start sharing about your family, maybe, or like some of your other content pillars, which are what I call them, like the different topics that you talk about in your content. And it's bringing in some of those other things. It's sharing, personal stuff about your life and like what you're working on and some of that kind of stuff that builds rapport with your audience. Now, your middle of funnel content like that, it doesn't get a lot of views. It's not supposed to get a lot of views. What you should see on that content is increased engagement. And it's not always more engagement, but it's higher quality engagement. So you've heard me teach this before, but it's paragraphs versus emojis. If you're creating that type of content and all of the comments that you're getting are all just people posting emojis, then it's like, okay, that's not so great, versus somebody actually pouring their soul out to you and actually telling you about how this impacted them and how it made them feel, and like sending you DMs and telling you that you've been such a help to them and stuff like that. Like, that's when you're really building connection with people. And so you have to look at the different metrics, because like I said, as entrepreneurs, we go like, oh, it didn't get a lot of views, so it wasn't good. But that's not necessarily the case. The top of funnel type stuff is designed to get a lot of views, to reach a lot of people. But the middle of funnel stuff is designed to build connection with them. It's not going to get a lot of views, and that's okay. It's not meant to, but it should get a lot of engagement, and more importantly, higher quality engagement. And then moving our way down to the bottom of funnel type content, this is now where you're actually making a sales pitch, or where you're telling people, go get on my email list, or go buy this thing, or come to this open house, or check out what we have available right now. Like, there's that kind of stuff happening. Those kind of posts, they don't get a lot of views or engagement usually, right? And so if you look at that and you go, this is a bad idea, only looking at the vanity metrics, right, which are your views and your followers and stuff, then you might not do that type of content, but it's still important to do. And so that type of content, the metric that you're looking for is how many people actually took action on it. And by the way, it's not going to be your entire audience. It's not going to be all the people. It's literally, the goal is, with every time you do a call to action like that, is just scoop the cream off the top. you're building connection with all these people over time, and then you're just going to take like the top 10% off or the top 5% off and move them into a thing, and then just keep building that connection with them over time, scoop top 5% off. And you just keep doing that over and over again. And you start turning your content into this machine that now is out there finding people, building trust with them, and then converting them into customers in this cycle that just keeps on going.
Last question I want to ask you is about, and you actually alluded to it there, is repeating content. One of the things that I've learned from you is to realize that not everybody that's following you is going to see that one post, and maybe they weren't following you and then they followed you later and whatever. But an example is I follow Dave Ramsey among 9,000 other people, but for some reason this stood out to me with him. I've seen the same exact post from him over time, the same post a number of times, that I feel like they're putting it in rotation, maybe weekly or less. And so talk about that piece of it.
So repurposing content, you absolutely can do that. In fact, I've built a lot of systems for like helping me to stay consistent with content. I always say that like consistency sounds like consistency, right? If you struggle to be consistent, the solution is to build a system, right? And so part of that system is reposting old content. And you can do that. Like if a post performed really well 6 months ago and you repost it, it probably will perform well again. There's something about that content that's people are relating to, or they're wanting to share it. And so, yeah, use that content over and over again. But like, you don't want to just always do that. Like, because if you get on a cycle where it's like every month they just post the same content, like your audience is going to figure that out really quickly. So you got to make sure that you're always innovating and creating new content. And the reality is, like, if you're not growing as a person and gaining new ideas and sharing new things and coming up with and being creative and stuff like that, like, you're not going to be that interesting to follow anyway, right? People want to follow your growth. They want to follow what you're doing. They want to follow like, hey, I'm working on this challenge, or I'm trying to do this, or I'm trying to make this happen, or and then seeing like your progress towards that thing. And so you want to allow that to happen, be open about your creativity and changing and coming up with new ideas all the time. But yes, in order to keep the content flowing, you can use that other stuff that you've used. Or if you're shooting a YouTube video, or if you have a podcast, like take clips from your podcast and create that as content. Take clips from your YouTube videos. Like there are ways to repurpose content to keep it flowing more easily, so that it's not like I have to sit down and shoot videos every single day. And this is a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. So those systems are really important. And like I always teach like how to build those systems around content creation, so that it's something that like I have videos going out every single day on multiple platforms, but like I don't spend my entire life being a content creator. I'm able to go live. And then, every once in a while I sit down and I do a shoot, or I shoot a batch of content, or I write content, or do whatever. And that just works for me and my lifestyle, because like I don't want to be like constantly making videos. So yeah, it's kind of a balance of creativity, originality, like growing and becoming better and better at what you do, and then like figuring out the system so that you can go do it consistently without it taking up all of your time.
Awesome. Man, we just are scratching the surface of, what you taught me and what you have to teach agents or brokers about using video. So thank you so much for all of that. Eric, what's the best way for everybody to get more Eric Thayne and to be on track to find out more info?
Well, if anybody wants it, I've got a free gift for people. So basically, I've told you about like some of these frameworks that I've built that make content creation easy. And one of the most important things about content is you have to do it in a way that's easy and systematizable, but that also creates really good, meaningful content. See, the problem is some people lean so far into the systems that it ends up just becoming like mass produced, like AI generated fluff. And like, honestly, it doesn't work. You're not building a brand. You're not building connection with your audience. It's like, how do you create content in a very consistent, easy way or simple way? Like we talked about, like it's simple, not easy, right? It's going to take effort, but how do you do it in a simple way, but that actually creates really good content? And so I created this framework that was actually born from me going through all of my best performing videos. And I started figuring out, like, I wonder if there's a trend or a pattern for like my videos that are popping off, that are just getting all these views versus the ones that maybe are getting like the normal amount of views, and what's going on. So I went through all those videos and I started to figure out like every single one of those videos followed a very specific framework. Like they followed the exact same thing. And so this framework will actually take you through step by step how to put together a video. And the cool thing about it is that if you have an idea for a video, you just say like, oh, I want to talk about this thing. You can just plug that into the framework and then go like, oh, I just start with this, and then I share this part, and then I share this part, and then I share this part, and it's like writes the script for you basically. So if you go through that, then you start posting those videos. It's the framework is actually built on really solid storytelling and marketing principles that work. And so if you take all of your ideas, you plug them into this framework, and then post them that way, you can rest assured that like you're creating consistent content, but it's meaningful content. It's really good. It's effective at what it's doing. Because sometimes you don't know. You're like, I got like 100 views. Like, is that good or is that bad? But like, you're going to just know like that piece of content did the best that it could because you followed the framework. So if anybody wants that framework, I just talked it up a bunch. You can get that. It's the 60-second content framework. It is at videocontentframework.com. And if you just go there, and it's free, just put in your name and your email address, and then I'll let you download that for free. That will put you on my newsletter, just so you know. So every week I send out a really like value-packed newsletter once a week. That's just like my latest insights and takes on like what's going on in the industry and with content creation and building a personal brand and everything like that, so that you can stay up to date on what's going on in the industry and just tune your skills and get better and better at this every single week.
Awesome. Eric, thank you so much for being here. Guys, we'll see you back here next week. See you soon.